So we're back, guys, with my partner, John Smothers. Yeah, you have some really interesting viewpoints on the bootstrap dollars versus venture funding. To explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so as you guys know, Jordan and I both co-founded Greenville Studios with our other partner, Peter Danby. And what we do here is we have a number of operating companies, but we also fund startups from the ground up with our own internal capital off the balance sheets of the other operating companies that we have. So it's very different from the venture approach. So what I did at Dimension and what I do with the angel investments I make are usually into companies that can hopefully achieve venture scale. So if you raise venture dollars, you go out there and then you raise your seed round, your Series A, your Series B.
$1 million+ checks.
Yeah, usually like if you're taking true venture dollars, a seed round anywhere now, it can be from like $1 million to $5 million, like seed rounds have got ballooned. And then a Series A, you're raising, usually mid to high 7 figures to, low 8 figures. And then Series B, C, it can balloon up into the 9 figures. So people that are raising that amount of money, generally speaking, dilution is going to change each round. But say you raise $1 million, you sell roughly 20% of your company. Maybe not, somebody has an option for a board seat at that seed round. Maybe they take a board seat, usually that's pushed off until later. But especially once you get up into the Series A landscape, usually you have a board, an outside board. Founders usually still maintain control, but you have outside stakeholders who have a say in your company. So VCs, well, I love many of them. I invest like them sometimes, depending on the company. And then there's some huge perks, like you have basically a lot of fuel to add to the fire.
Yeah.
You lose a level of optionality. So there's specific time horizons. Usually a VC fund is around 10 years. So in 10 years, they need to return a multiple in that fund. So say they raise a $10 million fund, just baseline to be a good VC, you need to return at least 3 to 4x that. So they need that $10 million fund to turn into a $30 or $40 million basically outcome at the end of that 10-year period. The best VC funds in the business return, quite frankly, it can return 100x plus. If you look at the lower cases, the benchmarks, the Sequoias of the world, they're absolutely incredible at the early stages, but 3 to 4x is the baseline for being a top tier fund.
Yeah.
So if you look at that from that perspective, and venture is very much a hits driven business, they talk about the Babe Ruth effect, where a small fraction of your investments will return a disproportionate amount of your fund, and then there'll be a certain amount that are just base hits, that'll either return the investment, a couple will be doubles and triples, and then a large number of them will be absolute zeros. So you need each investment going into it. If I'm looking at a company ABC, each company I invest in will have to have the potential of returning the fund. So for me, I care less about a double or a triple or a zero. I care about the home runs.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at a company that could be a great business from the standpoint of generating good cash flow, the founders have a good lifestyle, there could be good dividend checks every month or so in cash, that's not a good bet for me as a VC. I'm looking for the company that I can invest in at the $5 million post-money valuation at the seed, and that'll turn into a $1 billion company. And then even after dilution, it will return my $10 million fund or whatever it was.
It sounds like that's what most investors are looking for. You're not necessarily different for that.
In venture, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just knowing what type of money you're chasing. So venture is a specific type of money for a specific type of business looking to achieve a very specific goal.
Yeah.
And while the timelines are relatively long, 10 years, 10 years is not a huge amount of time. So if you're looking for a level of optionality, if you're not looking for a binary outcome in results of either you sell for this astronomical amount or you don't.
Or it's a failure.
Yeah, maybe you should be looking elsewhere and for other financing methods.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to my own personal experience raising angel funding in a small area. We only raised, sub $200,000 to run our business, and it was great that we had that more personal connection with our angel, and and we didn't necessarily have the strict deadlines of what venture would give us. We also didn't have as much money, and so that has its own levels of constraints. Like there's a time clock on that because you're going to run out of money a lot sooner than if you have venture funding.
And especially when you raise a smaller amount of money, it gives you more optionality. Like when you guys sold, you didn't have an outside board. You had 100% control,
Yep.
controlled by the founders, so you could decide this is a good outcome for us. We're going to go sell the company. But when you raise venture dollars, and I'm not trying to be anti-venture, I'm very much pro-venture. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten into it in the first place. But it's just knowing, like, a lot of founders now, since it's getting a lot of press, are thinking, oh, I want to go out there and raise venture dollars. When in reality, there might be ways for you to bootstrap. There might be ways to still find private market investors, but angel money for yourself, or you find different forms of debt. So, like Peter Danby, our partner, he was able to get his businesses all the way into mid 8 figures in revenue without diluting himself.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. And then now he has the optionality to say, like, oh, do I want to take private money? Do I want to take on more debt, or do I want to go raise venture for new things? He has all the optionality to do that, but he still has 100% control.
Absolutely, and yeah, that's the seesaw battle that you play, where you can get more gasoline on your fire by getting money from outside, but you have to give up some of your control in order to be able to do that.
Exactly, and it's a give and a take. So some companies, like, you should absolutely take venture.
Mm-hmm.
They probably would not have gotten to the scale that they got to, especially at the speed that they got there, without it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
It makes a lot of sense, and it sounds like it really, one of the things that can help determine that is, what industry are you in? If you're software, you might need venture funding more than if you're, say, a restaurant.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. Great. Well, there's a lot that you can take away depending on how you want to start and grow your business. What industry are you in? How much control over it are you trying to have? How fast are you trying to grow? There are factors that you really have to take into account when determining how do you want to actually fund the business that you're growing. So thanks for your opinion on that, John.
Absolutely.